The manager of the rock star Pete Doherty has today been jailed for a year over a hit-and-run crash that left a man in a coma.
Andrew Boyd had admitted leaving the scene of the accident in Hadieigh last year. Meanwhile, Doherty's case for allowing his car to be driven without insurance has been adjourned. Victoria Webb has this report.
Used to dealing with the publicity that surrounds Pete Doherty, his manager, Andrew Boyd, was today the focus of attention at court after his actions left Chris Corder from Hadieigh severely brain damaged. Speaking after Boyd was handed a 12-month prison sentence, his family said the fact he may only have to serve half that is nothing compared to the sentence Chris has been given.
My brother probably will have the rest of his life in a hospital, and I think it's totally wrong that 6 months is all that man is going to serve.
It is hard, very hard, because you go in, he's just lying there, he looks, he's got his eyes open, but he doesn't register a thing.
On the afternoon of Sunday, September the 27th last year, Chris was delivering the parish magazine as a favour to his sister along Benton Street in Hadieigh. His last delivery was to that property. He was about to cross the road when he was hit by a Jaguar. The person behind the wheel was Andrew Boyd. Instead of stopping to help Chris, he drove off, leaving him with multiple injuries. With only the parish magazine on him, it was the very Reverend Martin Thrower who was contacted to come and identify Chris.
I think it's probably the most horrific sight I've kind of encountered since I've been a priest. To see Chris literally lying in the road, a lot of people attending him, and that went on for, I would think, at least an hour and a half.
Although Chris is now in a stable condition, he remains in a coma.
He has a tracheometer on his throat. His eyes occasionally flicker, but his body is just completely clenched. They don't know if he's paralysed from the waist down or not.
It took police several weeks to discover it was Andrew Boyd who was driving the car. In a police interview, he said he turned around to deal with his 4-year-old son who was crying when he hit Chris. He was aware he'd collided with a pedestrian, but he didn't realise how serious it was, and in a state of panic, he drove away from the scene. Chris's family recently took part in a 90-mile sponsored walk to raise funds for his long-term care. They remain hopeful that before long, Chris will be home. Victoria Webb, Anglia News, Ipswich.
A senior police commander currently in prison in Suffolk is thought to have been assaulted. Ali Desai, who's a senior officer in the Metropolitan Police, is serving a 4-year sentence at Edmonds Hill near Bury St Edmunds. It's thought that a slot bucket was emptied over his head before he was then punched in the face and knocked out. Earlier this month, he was convicted of assaulting and falsely arresting a man.
Almost 20 youth workers in Norfolk are likely to lose their jobs after funding for community projects was withdrawn.
Yes, the YMCA's Right Direction scheme has been helping youngsters who have behavioural problems, and parents say that losing it could have a devastating effect. Malcolm Robertson reports.
Leave the things alone in the middle of the table.
Anne Bolter's one of those threatened with losing their jobs. She's the key worker for the YMC's Right Direction programme at the City Academy in Norwich, one of several projects in Norfolk being axed because the county council's pulling the plug on funding.
I'm devastated on behalf of the children, parents as well, communities who are turning around and saying this is just invaluable, why is this closing down?
These are youngsters with behavioural problems who need their confidence boosting. During their holidays, they help out at local care homes and are involved in community schemes like picking up litter, and in return are rewarded with days out.
Those really nice treat things have to be earned. They can't just turn up and expect to go on those days because I send them home. So they have to do all the other things like community projects first.
Darren Atkins has benefited from the scheme. His mother says it's made him more responsible, but she's concerned he might now regress.
I'd be worried about his behaviour deteriorating again. And at least while he's on the programme and he's doing these activities, I know he's not getting in trouble with the police.
Norfolk County Council say because of financial pressures, they cut their funding to the voluntary sector by more than £1 million. They invited applications from organisations whose contracts are about to run out, but the YMCA was unsuccessful. All of which could leave these youngsters heading in the wrong direction. But the YMC's hoping it can attract new funding so as not to close the door on a vital scheme. Malcolm Robertson, Anglia News, Norwich.
Well, moving on to some football now, and Ipswich edged another point clear of the Championship relegation zone with a hard-fought draw at Scunthorpe last night.
But Jim Rice starts his roundup in League One with the derby that left Southend perilously close to the bottom three, and Norwich fans talking of a takeover.
Almost 25,000 fans packed into Carrow Road for this League One derby, but one man was attracting more attention than most. Lotus F1 boss Tony Fernandez, hot on the heels of his revelation here on Anglia Tonight that he might be persuaded to buy Norwich City. Not sure if that's a Lotus scarf or a Norwich one, but that's definitely Chief Executive David McNally giving him the personal tour. Norwich might have found themselves overtaken at the top of the table had Southend held on to the first half lead provided by Scott Vernon. But the home side made the football equivalent of a tyre change, bringing on Ollie Johnson. And the striker steered them over the line with 2 late goals, the winner in the dying seconds of injury time.
They must have thought that they got away with a point, but just shows that we never give in. We've proven that in results at Brighton, Walsall, that we keep fighting to the final whistle and we get us just rewards.
It's a cruel game, and you've got to go right till the death. And like I say, we conceded in the last minute, so disappointing, but a load of positives out of tonight's performance.
In the Championship, Ipswich continued their run of games against teams at the wrong end of the table with a hard-earned point at Scunthorpe, coming from a goal behind to earn a draw through David Healy's first goal for the club. Jim Rice, Anglia News.
Well, Norwich, the city, also in the news because it's made it onto the final shortlist to become the UK's first city of culture. The lineup was announced today after a panel looked at bids made by 14 places, as well as Norwich. The other 3 still in the race are Sheffield, Birmingham and Londonderry. Ipswich and Southend are among those that missed out. Now, the successful city will hold the title in 2013.
Next tonight, with his keen sense of smell, trio